and welcome to another episode on Basic Thoughtonomics. I'm your host, Chris Grosso. Very excited for this next guest coming on. Going to continue the Yankees talk here. He is the longtime reporter for the Yankees on the Fan, WFAN. This guy's just a staple at the station. He's the great Sweeny Murti. And Sweeny, thanks so much for coming on the podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm wonderful. Thanks for the kind introduction, Chris.
No problem. Truly mean it. All right, yeah, we'll get right into it here with the Yankees Indians. Quick 2-game series AL wildcard round, first time ever. Just what were your biggest takeaways from that series? I know it was kind of brief, but just biggest takeaways, positive or negative, from that series.
Yeah, I think a lot of what the Yankees had kind of preached all year was that, they were waiting to get their full lineup back together and understood the damage they could do. And I think that's what made the last week of the season really disappointing, is that's when they were finally all healthy and they were struggling then. And I felt like they kind of, they had enough of that. And I think that they were a little tired of all of us telling them how they couldn't hit on the road, they couldn't win on the road, and that they couldn't beat good pitching. Well, they destroyed good pitching. The Indians were a very good team at basically every pitching category. They're near the top of the league, and the Yankees destroyed them because they brought their A lineup and they brought a focus to that series. And if they can continue to be that kind of narrow in focus, well, they can go a long way. But obviously, the competition gets a little bit harder in the next series.
It was definitely good to see Judge, Stanton, Gleyber, Gary get on the same page there. But do you think this layoff might hurt? Because they kind of got in a groove there, and having 4 days off, do you think that might be an issue?
I mean, I think you can't really look at it that way. It's the same for the Rays, and it's just the way the schedule is. It's not ideal, but I think you just kind of just get refocused here. It'd be different if they had been hot for a week, but they weren't. They were struggling for a week. So I don't think it's that big of an issue. I think the bigger issue is Tampa Bay has been a very good team. They have 3 really good starters, and the Yankees have to figure out how to get to those guys.
Yeah, just what are your thoughts on Gary Sanchez? Obviously, a tumultuous season for him. Hit into a lot of tough luck. I mean, still batting 147, but almost had that grand slam in Toronto last week. Got the homer Thursday night. I think the wind helped out a little bit. Do you think maybe he's turning a little corner here?
Yeah, I mean, he had a really good game. And I won't tell you he's turning a corner until he's turned it. I mean, we've seen too many of those start and stops with him where he's had games with good at bats, and it never led into a hot streak. All year, he did not have a single one of those, wow, that's a hot streak. He always had a lot of, oh, he looks like he's coming around. Oh, maybe this will turn him around. And, we didn't see one of those big, Sanchez runs where he's, player of the week candidate kind of thing. So I won't go that far, but I think he deserves a lot of credit for the game 2 in Cleveland. That game, I mean, it was 6 hours start to finish, right?
Oh my God. Yeah.
Almost 5 hours on the field, plus the rain delay. Getting big hits. He got the home run, and people say, okay, fly ball, wind dated. Okay, but it was still to the opposite field. It still takes a little bit of strength to put the ball in the air to that part of the field and let the wind take it out. And his biggest thing this year was he didn't make contact, right? And you talked about the hard luck. I mean, he still had a lot of the line drive outs, hard outs. That's all, the data will tell you that that's all true too. So if anyone's going to be rewarded with a little bit of luck and a wind out to right field on a normal fly ball, I think Gary Sanchez probably earned that this year. It was not a good season for him in any regard. But, and a lot of people I know were killing him for the pass ball in the ninth inning. 1, it didn't cost him a run. 2, dealing with the Aroldis Chapman 6 hours after the game started is really not that easy to do. All the criticism we warranted if it cost him a run, cost him the game. It did not. I think you have to let that go and recognize that he played a very a long and strong game, and his offensive contributions helped the Yankees win that game.
Yeah, we'll see if he can keep it going here against the Rays. Just thoughts on the Yankees going into an extended series. Now, obviously, what we saw was unprecedented, a best out of 3 playoff series, but I think they're going to have to dip deeper into their resources now with we're probably going to see more starting pitching. I think just by nature, it's obviously going to be at least 3 games. And I think the Rays probably going to take at least a game. I could see this easily going 5 games. Thoughts on the Yankees having to dip deeper into their resources? Starting pitching, you're probably going to see Montgomery get a start, Davies Garcia. Going to see more of the bullpen too. Just what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you're going to have a little bit deeper roster, obviously, in the rotation. You're going to want to get deeper into the games. I think there's always a tendency in the postseason to try to figure out how to shorten the games, but with playing 5 days in a row and, not really trying to punt on a game where you want to have all these guys, okay, I'm not going to use these guys, and if I lose, I lose. That's not the kind of game you want to play. So you're going to have to dig a little bit further through the order with these guys, with the guys in your starting rotation. And Garrett Cole's obviously a problem. You're going to let him go as long as you can. But Masahiro Tanaka, you saw what happened when they tried to stretch him through. I know the rain delay played a big part of it, but they tried to stretch him through the order a little bit more and get him through the 5th inning, and it almost backfired on them. You're going to have to use the same type of judgment and really kind of make quick decisions on Montgomery, Garcia, Happ. You're going to see the game 5 is going to be a really interesting decision, because if it gets to game 5, you're going to have to go 5th starter or bring back Garrett Cole on 3 days rest. And you're not going to know what that's going to be like until you see him get through game 1. How far you push him in game 1, how hard he has to work, how effective he is. It's one thing to say, sure, bring back Garrett Cole in game 5, but if the Rays knock him around in game 1, bringing him back on short rest in game 5 isn't necessarily the slam dunk that you would think otherwise. So a lot of interesting decisions as the series goes further along.
And obviously a huge difference this year is having to go on the road. Well, I guess not necessarily the road, but playing on a neutral site. Just how do you think that's going to play out? You think this series might play out a little differently, playing in Petco Park? West Coast time difference. Do you think this series might have just a different feel for it in that regard?
I think one of the interesting things is that both teams enjoy a certain home field advantage, and neither one comes into play. You know how much the Yankees hate playing a Tropicana field, right? Or anybody, not just the Yankees, but a lot of teams just don't like that venue, don't have to deal with that. The Yankees and their advantage at Yankee Stadium, not going to deal with that. Petco plays okay. I think we saw, I think we saw at the Padres this year that they can hit the ball out of the ballpark. And for all the reputation it had early on for being more of a pitcher's park, I think that the hitters have caught up. Certainly, whatever has happened to the ball has helped.
Yeah.
But I think you're. I think that too, right? And I think that the Giancarlo Stanton said it plays well to right-handed batters. Well, the Yankees have a lot of those. So if they can get to the Rays pitching, I don't think the ballpark is necessarily something that's going to hold them back. But warm weather, we'll have to deal with wind and rain. And October baseball is a different feel when it's played in those conditions. So we'll see what that does for it.
And just keys to the series, I guess. We kind of talked over it a little bit, but just what stands out to you the most?
Well, the Yankees hitters have to, they're finally going to have their full lineup together against the Rays. If you go back and look at all 3 series against the Rays, various people were missing. DJ LeMahieu missed an entire series against Tampa Bay. Aaron Judge missed 2 series, I think, against Tampa Bay. So, those hitters have to perform. It sounds pretty simple, but, if LeMahieu and Judge don't get on, or if you control those guys, it makes navigating the rest of the lineup a whole lot different. I would really, really not think it's possible for the Yankees to win a series without either LeMahieu or Judge, or both of them, having good series. I don't think you can take both those guys out and so to speak, and still win a series. So, it sounds silly. We're always looking for other guys to step up, and they will. But your stars have to perform. And for the Yankees, I think that's the key. For the Rays, it's probably as simple as getting to Garrett Cole in game 1, which, as you mentioned, they've done a couple of times. And Ji-Man Choi has had a very strong history against Garrett Cole. So I think these are the things that you look at early on. And if the Rays can get to Cole and take a game 1, it obviously puts more pressure on the Yankees.
Just thoughts on the rest of the American League. I think a lot of people would like to see Yankees Astros ALCS. I think that'd be very exciting. But just what are your thoughts on if the Yankees get past the Rays, the potential competition with the A's and the Astros?
Yeah, I mean, listen, the Yankees are rolling pretty good if they get past the Rays, and it's you would hope that it means that it's a healthy lineup together, it's kind of like when the Knicks beat the Heat in 1999, they were an 8 seed beating a 1 seed in a 5-game series, and then they rolled all the way to the NBA Finals. They weren't a typical 8 seed because it was a strike-shortened season. So again, a little parallel here to a shorter season, which doesn't necessarily give you the full picture of a team for seeding purposes. And the Yankees as a 5 seed probably doesn't make a lot of sense in a 162-game season. It does, obviously, in a 60. So if the Yankees, now that they're healthy, get through Tampa Bay, they're probably better equipped than, say, a normal 5 seed type of team would be. And maybe they're in a better position than, say, the Astros, who struggled, the A's, who played well, but listen, they won a playoff series, and it's been a while since they've been able to do that. Deciding game that they beat Chicago. I will wait to see how everybody gets there before trying to figure that out. But I would think if the Yankees get past Tampa Bay, they will put themselves in a pretty good position to they will have played well enough to say, okay, this is not the team that we saw earlier in the year or even last week of the regular season. They're playing more like you expect, and that would put them on good footing going into that next series.
Yeah, I think health-wise, we kind of touched on it. It just seems the Yankees are, even despite the seeding, I like you said, I don't think the seeding means much this year. I think they're the best team on paper if they're healthy, and they're healthy right now. Looks like they're clicking on all cylinders. Just what about the Astros in particular? Like the whole sign-stealing scandal, everything that's gone on there. I think it'd be a little different if they played each other, being there would be no fans in the park. Wouldn't have that vitriol going on both sides, even though it's neutral field. But just thoughts on the Yankees-Astros ALCS? I think that'd be pretty cool.
It would be. I think I don't think you need the fans in the stands to have the energy because, there's a lot of players in this team that have spoken up about what they thought about the Astros scandal and how they were robbed of a chance in 2017. And this is the same team that beat them last year. So there's going to be, I think you'll see it in the Rays series too. There's obviously a lot of things that happen with the Yankees and the Rays this year. The players in the field will bring that fire, even without stuff happening with the fans. I think you're going to see a certain level of energy there that maybe you didn't see in a regular season matchup, and you saw some of those in the regular season too.
Yeah, we'll see, and I think that's the series most of America wants to see. I think that's going to draw a lot of eyeballs to the TV. But Sweeny, I know you got to run. Just wanted to thank you again for giving me a few minutes of your time. Hope you enjoy the series coming up. Hope you enjoy the rest of the postseason, and talk to you soon.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate you having me on.
All right. Thanks, Sweeny. And that's another episode of Basic Thoughtonomics in the books. Again, I'm your host, Chris Grosso. I want to thank Sweeny Murti again so much for coming on. Been, like I said, a longtime staple there at WFAN. Yankees fans, I'm sure most of you know, but you can follow him on Twitter for all the Yankees latest news at Yankees WFAN. And enjoyed doing this Yankees talk here this week. It was good to have Brian Hoke on and have Sweeny on. Hope you Yankees fans enjoy the series next week. And thanks. Hope everyone has a good weekend.